Here.
Watkins,
Present.
Miller,
Here.
Chester,
Here.
Crawford. Here. Irvin,
Yes.
All present. All right, in everyone's packets is the minutes from the last council meeting of February 15th, 2016. Are there any questions, concerns, or corrections for the council meeting minutes of February 15th? If there are no questions or concerns or corrections, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So.
Mr. Watkins makes a motion. Seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor of approving the council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, please. Okay. Next, we'll get on to bills. The total bills for this meeting is $29,729.25. If you look at your payment listing, it is all back on one sheet. It is just now different on the middle of page 2. You'll look down all the way to the right. As far as status, you'll see where it switches from O to B. O is bills that are outstanding for council to vote on, and B is simply bills that have already been paid.
What is the E.J. Prescott company that we buy water and sewer supplies from? What did you buy? Bands, repair bands for water mains.
Is there any other questions about the payment listing? All right, if there are no other questions about the payment listing, I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills. Mr. Watkins makes a motion, seconded by Ms. Crawford. Roll call, please.
Watkins,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Chester,
Yes.
Crawford. Yes. Irvin,
Yes.
and Atkins.
Yes.
All right. Now on the mayor's notes. One of the things that was just handed to me this evening, there's flyers. We'll actually put one of these up if you don't mind. They are having on Saturday, September the 10th, a cars, trucks, and bike show. There's going to be door prizes, 50/50 drawing, dash plaques. So it'll be at the old junior high. Any questions, contact Mr. Ray Loper for that. We'll have this posted up. It'll look like this.
When is it? I'm sorry.
A car and truck and bike show,
When?
Saturday, September 10th at Pony Wagon Days.
Oh, okay.
But we just got an official flyer this evening. So.
Got it.
As far as everything else going on in the village, we've made it quite a while without any injuries. So everybody doing that, good job. Next is we're in that stage in the state of Ohio where the temperatures fluctuate from day to day to the next day.
Hour to hour?
Yes. And this is just simply, I understand that individuals get water into their basements and things as such. If you have to pump out your basement, just be a little careful as to where your water goes. If you know it's going to change drastic temperatures that evening, maybe we can hold off for a day. With someone brought it to my attention, Joe looked at it, but someone was pumping out their basement. When we looked at it, it was fine, but there was water that had pooled up on the road. So if everyone could do your part and please, be a little aware of the upcoming weather, even though the weatherman doesn't understand what's going to happen next. But if we know it's going to drop off sharply, please just maybe not pump it out that night. And that is all I have for mayor's notes. Next, we'll move on to committee reports. Safety Committee.
We met this evening at 7 o'clock. I think Mr. Atkins has some things he'd like to speak to council about.
Well, on the agenda, they had discussion of the speed limit east of town with the annexation is complete. We discussed it back there. We really don't feel the need to change that speed limit at this time. Because when there's school in session, there is a 20-mile-an-hour flashing lights, and if it is annexed, the police will be out there patrolling. But we don't see the need to reduce it for like in the summertime and on weekends. So we don't think it's appropriate to change the speed limit, but I guess it's the council decision.
I thought it was a state.
Can I comment?
Yes.
It's not a council decision, it's an ODOT decision. When I talked to them and discussed with them the possibility if we would seek to lower that or whatever, they said what would have to happen is they pick the speed limit based on traffic and population. They said if we wanted to question that, the village could ask to have a traffic study, which would be at our expense, and you're looking at 4,000 plus, and that traffic study may or may not allow that to go down. Most likely, it may drop to 50 when it gets annexed in, but that's as far as it's going to go for right now, unless we wanted to put a bunch of money out for a speed limit test or a traffic test. So that was the.
But we didn't think it was necessary ourselves. The other thing on here is a police dog. Apparently one of the officers over here has a dog that's in training, and it's got like another 18 months to go. It's his dog. But I guess he's wanting to know if it can be used as a police dog, what liability insurance would be required to put on this dog.
And we would have none. We are completely covered as we are, that if that was to become a realization at some point, it would be treated just as a regular police officer. He would be commissioned as a police officer, so our insurance changes in no way, shape, or form. We're already covered for that in the event that it would happen.
Did you speak with an insurance agent?
I did.
And that covers lights as well?
Yes, covers pretty much anything. So it wouldn't be any different than police officer goes out and slaps somebody out at their house. It's not any different than that. We are covered for that. As a matter of fact, they have several communities that have police dogs that they cover now. And so we are under no different need to change our insurance to put on a K-9 unit if we choose to.
So if it would be like certified, the training certified, then that would qualify.
Just like a police officer.
Correct, that, the dog that we're talking about is actually, is going to school.
Yeah.
It would not be a bite dog.
And
That's what I was gonna ask, is it
did
a
you
bite,
not
drug,
say-
or track?
did you not say
Scent
there's,
detection only.
Scent detection,
Yes.
It will be certified for patrol.
state
Just-
certified.
Just
But
state
not
certified
the
for
bike.
patrol, just because it would have to be in a car. In order to be in a car, it has to be state certified, but it will not be used for aggression, it will not be used for pursuit or tracking, or lights.
But we still have to have the bike covered.
Right.
Sent out
Yeah.
there.
Well,
What?
we're automatically
Walk
covered.
around
Well, that's
cars,
what I
you
mean,
can
it
take
still
to
covers
schools,
the bike.
Oh, yeah.
and have it walk around during pony wagon days, as people are coming in. People are parking, we can go
All right.
and kind of make sure things aren't coming into the village that don't need to be here.
I just want to be clear, the training is at your expense.
The training is being paid for at my expense and through a grant through the state of Ohio, and then a federal grant for his scent detection.
And that grant was,
And that training is being done at Canine Solutions in New Carlin, and he'll start in May. Officially, fully start his canine training in May, as long as it's approved. I'll bring it to chief, and they'll bring it to the council. You guys will decide whether or not,
and we'll commission the dog through the department.
right. If so, then great, otherwise he'll just be put into a therapy program for my own personal. So, but I'll bring you more information as I get it.
Who did the grant?
I wrote the grant.
You wrote the grant?
I wrote the grant, I submitted it to the state. The state went ahead and approved it, but it has to come back with a plan of action. I'm in the process of trying to get a state-approved plan for a canine dog. I'm gonna talk with the sheriff's office and
You have to have training yourself. What's the
Yes.
expense on the training? I know it's pretty much a weekly or monthly thing.
yes.
So is that expense coming out of
Still-
the safety budget, or is that something that's gonna be paid for by you?
Well, I'm looking into that right now. So, I'm trying to do everything I can to have no money come out of the village so that the dog, in the event that I move on to another department or.
Are you gonna donate the dog
relocate,
to the village, or are you taking the dog with you?
Take the dog with you.
the dog will take care of it.
Okay, well, I mean, these are
Right.
questions we need to know. I mean, are you
So-
gonna have this dog when you leave, or are you taking the dog with you?
Well, the dog would potentially go with me. As of right now, there's no projection for me to be going anywhere. But,
I know it's a lot of questions, but,
right,
you know.
there's a lot of information that I still need to get to provide. I wasn't aware that it was gonna come out to council.
This is just
in
more of a heads up to council.
Right,
I mean,
Well, I
we
mean, it
all
sounds like
have,
it's progressing pretty quickly. I mean,
Well, they just asked the question if,
Yeah.
and so we answered that question. Each one of them is a progression of steps, and that was one step that there's no issue on our part as far as insurance is concerned. So,
What was the name of the place in New Carlisle?
it's, Canine Solutions.
What's the difference between that and what's up there in Wapakoneta? I thought they had a police canine training
They
facility.
buy the dog, import the dog, and train the dog themselves. And then the village or the department buys the dog for $14,000 to $20,000. And it's fully state certified. The handler goes through the school. It's cost about $8,000 to $10,000 to train the handler. That's all paid for by the department. This school down here is paid for hourly by the handler. The handler is trained at the same time the dog is trained. And it can be paid for on an hourly basis through the use of a grant, which the training for myself would have to come either out of my own pocket or out of a grant, and I'm trying to work on that right now. So there's, like I said, there's still a lot to actually getting this in full motion and getting the dog trained, but it's just an idea based on some issues we've had in the village, so.
and then just because we've spoke before, and I'm saying this for council, the dog would be trained as a passive. If it detects something, it'd be trained passively. It would sit, it would lay down next to the spotted marks instead of jumping or growling or anything like that. So that would also ease any animosity or any thoughts that we have as far as that, if anybody's concerned that it may attack or bite, everything's being trained and done in a passive manner.
And can you explain what the dog's major role is gonna be in law enforcement?
His major role would be assisting us with curbing drug issues that the village is presented with. Meaning if we get on a traffic stop, we have an individual who is refusing to allow access into the vehicle or consent search. We've got all reasonable suspicion to believe that there's drug paraphernalia or drugs in the vehicle. We can call for the dog can come out, we'll sniff the vehicle. If it alerts, we can then, based on the alert, and of course the dog communicates, we can then get into the vehicle. Okay, in addition, it gives us, something to use at the schools. A dog to walk through. We can have the dog just check the lockers, if it alerts on anything. We make sure, our youngsters and the kids of the community aren't getting involved in things they don't need to be involved in.
So is this something that we're gonna be required to call you in from home?
Yes, and if, for whatever reason I'm not on, yes, I would make some kind of agreement, and that would of course go through the chief, and we'd write something up. It could be, if I get called in, could be done on an auxiliary type thing, full uniform, or however, I don't know how that would all work. That's something that's gotta go through my administration. This is something, like I said, I didn't know it was gonna come to you. I still have to talk with them. Just the basic information of what would it cost the village, and if it costs the village something, then, you know, you retract the idea. That's pretty much what I was doing, so.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you guys have anything else for
No.
safety committee? Okay. Sorry, that went a little bit in depth, but, I mean, that's where we're progressing. So next we'll move on to streets.
Okay, we did an inventory of the street signs that was mandated by the state, and apparently that we're okay with the street signs. We have a good inventory, correct? Other than, well,
The inventory you saw was just what we have in stock, that wasn't mandated. The state of Ohio came down with about 3 different dates that we were required to, with all traffic, street signs and road signs. We have met all of those except for one, which is they want all the street names to be all capital letters now. And there's no repercussion to that if we don't do that. Most aren't going to change that. If we would get new signs for some reason or another, we could update to the next level.
each street
But,
sign.
but all the rest of our signs are up to date, so we've met all those demands.
As far as the crosswalk goes, which you brought up in the last meeting, we discussed it, and we don't feel there's a need for it. Obviously, there's gonna be the initial cost of doing it, and the maintenance, the upkeep. But we weren't really clear as to why you wanted the crosswalks. We decided, or we come up with the conclusion that it was a safety issue, people, pedestrians crossing the street and traffic traveling at a high rate of speed, or running the stop sign at Plum and Springfield. If that's the case, let's concentrate on patrol, get some extra patrol down there, make sure nobody's speeding on Springfield Street and not running the stop sign, which there has been complaints that people run the stop sign during the day. So if that's the case, then let's start with that first. And increase maybe patrol. And if there's a problem, time of the day, it's something that you guys can talk to the business owners about. You know, what are you seeing? Is there a problem here at this 4-way, or do you have a problem with speed? And they can kind of direct you in that direction. You know, this is when you need to be up here or not.
I think simply what was brought up before was maybe trying to designate along, and correct me if I'm wrong, along the business area, a couple specific spots where we try to actually funnel traffic, maybe give a little bit of space, no parking area on either side of it, so that you're not having people just pop out from in between cars
I didn't.
in every different spot.
Did you understand that? Well, I didn't take it that way.
Not 100%,
But if that's the
If we did
case,
two,
then we'd lose parking spots on each side of the roadway.
I mean, yeah, you'd lose probably two parking spots each side.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to lose the parking space?
There's no parking. At the bank, they have always complained about, there's no parking.
Yeah.
Everybody complains about that.
I mean, it's a one block here, then go
So-
to each end of the street. I mean, if it's.
Yeah,
we know
but
that people are
nobody
crossing the
does
street.
though.
I know, but we know that people are crossing the street, and we're not gonna.
People dart out a lot.
Right.
I asked all the officers, that's why I brought it up.
So if it's a speed issue, a pedestrian safety issue.
I think it's a more people don't pay attention and walk out issue.
I'm not
Do you
sure what the-
think that, and this is just a question, do you think people would walk half a block to cross, or do you think they'd still just dart across?
I think they'd be more likely because they won't walk to the end, so.
Okay, I'm just,
Mr. Sampson, if you'd like to.
can I give you a perfect example?
Yeah, you got
This morning, there was a car parked on the east side of the road in front of the bank going west. She got out of her car, walked straight across the street over to Henderson's. The crosswalk's like 10 feet away. And they didn't go to the crosswalk, and I thought that was awful funny until it dawned on me that I had just got out of my truck and passed her in the same path. I didn't either. It's just habit of getting out and walking across the street. But that one, even at that, I can see that so many people do that, they're most likely not going to walk down and cross there unless they're forced to by some reason or another. But we had kind of talked and thought maybe a little more police presence down there. Apparently a lot of people run that stop sign down at Plum and Springfield, so
if I recall about 3 years ago, that was a problem with rolling stops and everything, and when the police had patrolled it, it had stopped at least for a while.
So my sister-in-law works at Robert's Heating Air Conditioning. She sits at that big window all day long, and she sees it all day. You know, she tells me, of course, she doesn't want everybody to know that she's telling me that, but
Well, it's out now.
Back now.
Well, now I know who's complaining.
Chief, Patrick's on right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you please pass it along? I know it's not gonna do much at third shift, but can you please pass it along to each officer, pass it along? Let's step up patrols at Plum and Springfield. I know we've done it before, but
Who got chewed out the other day for stopping somebody? Was that you? I'll have to share that report with you sometime, because he got reamed big time while we stopped. Yes, we have been stopping quite a few cars in there, trying to get them to stop.
you're never gonna be ridiculed by us for doing your job.
No, it wasn't, it was a student, was a,
It was a daughter driving with her mom. Daughter ran the sign, stopped her. Mom started telling me,
raked over the coals. Anyway, yes, we have been stopping.
available.
Yes, we have been stopping them right and
Well-
left, so yes.
but yeah, let's just keep it up.
Okay, yes, sir.
Oh, and
Hopefully that'll curb that. And
is that
tell your friends.
satisfactory for now? I mean, if it's still an issue later, we determine there's a different cause for it, then I
Right.
guess we'll move in a different direction.
We'll have your sister-in-law keep an eye on it.
But I was gonna say her name, I'm not.
We all know who it is now.
I've talked to Dale and I've talked to Gordon Snow. So, yeah, I mean, I've talked to them down there. They moved.
Well, I tell you,
Well-
I'm on my corner too.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to
Out
them
there
and,
and 7 out of 10 cars didn't stop.
so,
Corner of
Yes.
Elman High.
Elman High.
Elm High, yeah, that's another one we kind of try to watch as much, as we yeah, they're stood up there, and you'll see the cars come in out of the road, just nosedive because they see us.
They're terrible about it.
You had asked, Mayor, to come up with a detailed plan, or course of action, or plan for this upcoming year as far as what we're gonna do. And all I can say is, until we get the report from the auditor's office and know what we're working with, we can't plan any street projects, other than we're continuing, now that the weather's breaking, potholes and cracks. That's all I have.
All right, parks, buildings, trees. Mr. Miller, Ms. Crawford.
I don't have a whole lot. We just had a meeting and we did discuss a few things, some off the subject, but really nothing. It's just things that are in the possibility of coming
Same.
All right. Planning Commission, Mr. Irvin.
The last meeting was canceled because there was no business before us. So the next meeting is scheduled for April 7th at 7:30 here at the municipal building.
Mr. Administrator.
First thing I had, just wanted to say that I'm sure a lot of us know, but Inez Sloan passed away. If we know Inez Sloan, she was about to turn 101, and what I feel is somewhat of an icon to our village, and just wanted to keep her family in our prayers. We hate to lose her, we hate to lose anybody, but she was, been around for a long time, but we're gonna miss her a lot. Second thing is we posted for the water sewer position and the street position. We got quite an ample amount in for the street position, which we're gonna start interviewing, and hopefully I will have a name to bring to council next meeting. Didn't get a lot of water and sewer applications, so with council's permission, I would like to repost that and see if we can't spark a little more interest in that job. I think we have enough on the street side to choose from and pull some interviews in and pick a pretty decent candidate. But the water sewer, we just didn't quite get enough to make me feel good about picking a good one. So with council's permission, I would like to repost that.
I have no issue with it. Mr. Jesters will make the motion, second by Mr. Miller. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
All those in favor of, allowing Joe to repost the water and sewer opening, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, please.
Aye.
Okay.
This will be so you'll post it soon, and in 2 weeks, when we come back, we're gonna have the,
I'll have a street person.
you have a street person, and then we should have some more applicants for,
Yes.
May I ask why you just don't move Diana over to the street? She does the work now and did it when I was there. She's
Well-
more than qualified.
Well, first off, that's not my choice, and secondly, that hasn't been discussed and
Right.
will be brought back to council when the time period is correct.
she's part of the discussion.
Well, she's more than qualified and been doing the work for years.
You understand?
And she may very well. But that's the council decision, not mine.
Didn't say it was.
Okay. All right, next order of business, Joe.
Graham School has asked if we would be interested in putting a contract together again to take care of the water and sewer out at the high school. We did that several years ago for several years, and we lost an employee and decided to opt out of that for a while when, I think it was Mark Traylor may have, Rodney had passed and Mark was there, and we felt like we just couldn't handle it any longer. And so we turned that down, but they have asked if we would be interested in putting a contract together again for that. So, if council is willing, I would like to put a contract together to operate their water and sewer out at the high school.
Who's doing it now?
They have an outside company from, I'm not sure where they're from.
So they're contracting outside.
Yes, they've never had their own operator. Well, they did when Rodney Callison was there, that's the first.
This is the tower and the pump station and all that out here for the
No,
school.
this is at the high school.
Yeah, the high school.
High school.
The
High school.
elementary and middle's already on our system.
They get water from us at high school?
No,
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 they have their own
system.
well, but they have their own
They
system.
have their own facility.
But they fall under all they fall under all the EPA requirements. They have to have a certified operator run their water and sewer.
I got you.
And they have an outside company doing that now. At one time, Rodney Callison was their licensed operator. He came to work for us, and then we contracted with them and took care of, we took care of north and south for several years until they built the middle school and elementary. And so now they have entertained the idea that we could come back and operate the high school again.
Do we have the personnel to do that?
Once we get the other person, yes, it's a little less demanding than what it used to be, just because it's a high school. When we did it before, we were heading south and north and the high school too, so we had quite a bit of running to do. But for that, it's not that much to deal
What does
with.
it entail, testing and maintenance of the equipment, or what?
We would just pretty much monitor. We'll do the testing as every day. It's 2 chlorine samples, one at where the water's coming out, and another one in the system every day. Then you have yearly testing. The sewer plant's the same. There's a couple samples to set out each week and just maintenance on that. But if it got into, say a pump went out or
That was
the
my
electric
next-
problem, then we just make that aware of the school and they contract that out.
Okay, that was my next question. I didn't know about how old their equipment was and what would happen, what our liability is with that. So we just look at it, maintain it, and then if there's a problem, they deal with it.
Yes.
They had an arsenic problem a few years ago. Do they still have that?
No, they didn't have an arsenic problem before.
From what I understood.
Well, I
Okay.
operated the plant for several years, so.
Okay. What we'll do with this is, I'll entertain a motion if council is interested in having Joe put together a contract for the, high school to operate their water and sewer plant.
I'll make a motion that he be allowed to do that, but I would like to see the contract.
Before.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
I'll
Alright.
second that.
second. Motion is made by Mr. Watkins, seconded by Ms. Crawford. This one I would like to do a roll call on, since we're building a contract, basically.
Atkins,
No.
Watkins,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
and Crawford. Yes. And Irvin, sorry.
No problem, yes.
Okay, next.
This is, I hope everybody can see this, and I apologize, I only have one. But this was a book that Choice One Engineering put together for Cridersville. It didn't cost Cridersville anything, but it's a book that basically they call it a green report, and it's a community resource for connecting capital improvement and funding opportunities. So they came down the other day and we sat down with the water department and the street guys and came up with several plans in town, short-term, long-term. They're gonna go back and put a book like this together for us, which and I'll pass this around so you can see, but for instance, they're looking up at Cridersville in 2016, doing East Main Street sanitary improvement. And in 2016, they'll apply for OPWC. 2017, they'll go to construction. Over on the next page, it shows the project at $959,000. It shows funding sources of OPWC and local funding. And it just goes through and gives a little recap of what's planned, what it's going to cost, and where the funding may come through. So this is just kind of an FYI. I said we met with them. They're going to put a book together like that for us. Once we get that, or if any of the departments or council has any other projects that they'd like to add, this is a work in progress. It's a working tool. We can change this, add to it, take away from it, however we like. But I think it's a good book for us to be able to look out over the course of the next few years and be able to put some pretty good sound planning together.
Two questions on that. So we provide them the data, they put the book together,
Yes?
and then is that something instead of a booklet that could be online too?
Yes.
Would we have that?
Sure.
Because that would be much more efficient than
Absolutely,
printing
yes.
books.
Yes, we can put that online, without a doubt.
I guess it would be something, Mr. Mayor, like the big spreadsheet that we had.
Yes.
And it
It's
would
just
just be in a,
much more user-friendly than our giant ream of paper.
yeah, we could just take a picture of that and scan it in if you want. If you'd sign it.
But we've got quite a bit of that done,
Yeah, we do.
so.
And what we offered to them was, just preliminarily, was a water treatment plant, the I&I study that we've been talking about, the phosphorus removal down at the wastewater plant. We put several street projects on. We talked about a couple projects at the park. I can't remember all of it, but
And two questions, this would tie in with the online bills, or the online, thing that we have where the public can click in and see where the payments are going to? Would it be tied in with that, or is it something totally separate? And second, what's their interest in putting this together for us?
getting the engineering project, once the projects come to fruition. They
Okay,
would want the engineering for it.
but we're not in any way obligated, it's kind of like advertising for them.
That's right, yeah. And no, it would not be part of our checkbook online.
Okay.
This is just kind of a, it's just kind of a book of, here's an idea, and when, somebody says, what projects are you looking at? Like he talked about a little earlier, you can look in there and say, this is what we're looking at, this is what it costs. And it gives the public a little better understanding of, what these things cost and how many dollars prices have went up over the years, and these big projects they're a lot of money. So it's just a lot of FYI information. So we'll get that finished up before long. And the rest of these are just kind of a couple updates. The generator that we're putting in down at the wastewater plant, they came in last week and have the transfer switch put in. The generator's supposed to be delivered this week and most likely will be installed the following week until it's finished. So that project is up and running well. Then I had talked to you folks about lead that from Flint, Michigan and Sebring. that we did some extra testing. There's a test called Langelier test that kind of in its basic form tells the aggressiveness of our water and how acidic it is and if it's pulling, and our water well met within the normal range here in St. Paris. So we ran several different tests and found out that we're actually in pretty good shape. So lead is not an issue like some of the other towns. So I was kind of glad to get that information back. Next thing is, we're getting into spring, I hope, here soon. So zoning violations will start getting a little more frequent. So I wanted, hope this young man would put in the paper that y'all have a chance to get things straightened up a little bit, and then zoning violations will start coming out. We've got to get some places cleaned up a little bit. Choice one is in the process of looking at our I&I study that we had put in for a grant and got a zero interest loan if that's where we decide to go. But there we got Dryer and Mallard information back to tell us what they thought our project should be. So choice one is working to get that plan put together to go to the state to get the paperwork together to see if that loan funding will come through. I'll keep you up on that. Next week on the 17th is Champaign County Leadership Day, and I'm going over to the county level. I've done this for the past, I don't know, several years. We go over and talk to a class about government in St. Paris. So I've always been kind of happy to get to do that. The last thing I have is Ohio Plan has put together a package for us for our insurance renewal, which is up on the 16th of this month and will go for a year. I have a paper here in your packet that's got a couple little wheels at the top that gives basically a little quick rundown that our insurance annual premium this year would be $19,718. It was $19,624 last year. It's up $94 from the previous year. Some of the things that went up is the operating expenditures went up like $1,600. Property values increased $65,000. Our inland marine went up $1,000. We got another auto one. New cost values that went up $97,000, so there were several increases in coverage along with that $94. I did attempt to go out to some other companies and take a look, but we used to be on with a company named Wells Fargo, and I called, well actually he called me, and we kind of went over what we was paying, and he said I can't even touch that, so they didn't even care to bid on it. So we're in a fairly decent spot with our insurance. That I think over the course of maybe the next couple of years, we're still holding on to where we had the police accident several years ago. That's still kind of in the funnel, so it kind of holds us there. But we have stayed fairly level with our coverage, so with council's permission, I would like to get our insurance renewed again for another year with Stoley Insurance in the Ohio Plan.
Are they pretty responsive and easy to work with?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. They have been more than easy to work with. We've fortunately not had hardly too much coverage with them. They came on after the police incident that we had. We've had a couple little fiddly things, but we've done really well with them. They've been good.
The only thing that I had a question about is, with like the deductible, with like the large vehicles where it's set at $500, would it be of any significance? I mean, if it's a small accident, you know, $500 doesn't, would it behoove us to increase that possibly and save a little bit of money in your estimation, or just keep it
It
where it
won't
is?
make a difference. It's like, it wouldn't make a significant enough difference to matter. And I thought it was 1,000.
You know,
That's 500.
500, and, you know, that's just, you know, if we're gonna get a scratch on the truck, you know, so if you're not gonna be fixing stuff that's small, you may as well set it high.
I can call them and ask, but I don't think it would make much of a difference, but I would be more than glad to find out.
Okay, I'd appreciate that personally. I don't know about anybody else in the council.
I would agree.
When's the expiration of insurance?
16th of this month is when our cover, I mean, you're a month beyond, so I mean, if we didn't have to make a decision tonight, we're still covered until next meeting.
Okay, because our next meeting is the 21st.
Are you gonna wait till the next meeting?
So you want to table it?
Yeah, I'd have that looked at.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table it until,
The 21st, Mr. Irvin,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Atkins. All those in favor of tabling it until the 21st, say aye.
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 Opposed, same side, please. Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
sir, I'm sorry, that's it.
All right. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve committee reports. Is there a motion? Mr. Urban? Seconded by Mr. Jester. All those in favor of approving committee reports, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, please. All right, next we're going to move on to old business. Council vote, for the Johnson St. Paris Police, or Fire Board of Mark Trailer. We had a little situation last time with, the name, and we had approved Marty. Mickey. So we just need to go back through and get a correct name in the minutes and vote on the correct name. Did I explain that correctly, Mr.?
And this is, township rep.
Yes,
So
This is for-
it has to be approved by the township board, so, okay.
correct. This person has already passed the township's vote, and it's coming to us for a second, or for a confirmation vote. We had voted last week, and we, like I explained, we had had a last meeting.
He's interested in doing that.
How do we come up with the name Mickey?
That was me.
You just misunderstood.
That was me.
It was just a,
I was just curious, I think I asked Mr. Councilman Atkins if he knew this person, and he said yes.
Yeah,
Maybe-
different person. I know Mickey Trailer, I know Mark too, so.
Oh, okay. That's where I was confused.
Mark at one time was a village employee,
Yeah, I know Mark Trailer, but
and that's who it is.
we
I know
confirmed the
Mickey
name
Trailer.
through Tyler, Mr. Atkins, and I thought that this is a real person, that's why
Mickey is a real person.
Yeah.
it's a different
But
person.
this is not anyone for us to nominate. We only have to approve
so,
For the township.
for the township.
correct.
Right.
And they have their meeting this week.
Well, they've already had their meeting.
They had their meeting.
They approved this
That's why
person.
they came here at the last meeting.
Gotcha.
And we have a fire board meeting tomorrow night, and I'm assuming if he's available, then he would.
So we got the right person.
Yes.
Just for curiosity, where's Mickey Trailer? Tyler, just for curiosity, where's Mickey Trailer live?
Lives in Troy.
Okay.
All right. So we'll,
So we need to make a
Why?
motion.
Yes.
Well, I'm just curious, Mark didn't know of any Mickey
Right.
Trailer, and so we didn't know how you have to live in the township to be on the fire board.
I mean, it's neither here nor there. We will go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to approve Mark Trailer, the Johnson Township representative. Mr. Miller makes a motion,
I'll second
second by Mr. Jester.
it. I know Mark.
Roll call, please.
Irvin,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Miller. Watkins,
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
All right, next we'll move on to His Hands Extended Sanctuary Cat Control. Ms. Crawford.
I I talked to her, on the phone the other day. We were playing phone tag for a while, and, finally she got a hold of me, and then she emailed me some things about the cat stuff, and how she really thinks that we need to get on this pretty quick. She said that, Tanya was gonna donate 30 spade neuters, once we match them. And so she said, if we were to, just get the 30 done, or get at least the 60 done, that would help a lot. And right now is, breeding season.
What was the cost on each individual one? I can't remember.
I'm thinking it was $30, but I'm not completely sure.
I thought it was 20 or 30.
Yeah. 20, 30, 25, something like that.
20 to 30.
And she said, she suggested to go ahead and do a, spaghetti dinner.
Like a benefit or something?
Yeah, it's kind of like
That's
a,
kinda hard for us to put on.
So the village can't,
You're right, the village can't do that.
oh, okay,
well, we can't spend village money to do that.
right,
The council with either a group or someone with front money can do that.
Right, it could be done here,
It could be done in
right.
but as far as the village doing a fundraiser for that, we can't do it, but we can find interested individuals who would like to help out, hint, hint, hint.
Church organizations, whatever.
Did she talk at all about, weren't they doing it at some of the trailer parks and the effectiveness, has it's made a difference there?
Yes, she said she's in the, I'm thinking she said this one over here.
Correct.
Yeah, Paris, that it's almost completely done. So that one we wouldn't really have to worry about. It would be, I think it's north up that way, I guess, is
Well,
currently.
And
There-
And she
there's
said that we were
some-
gonna have to go search for him too.
There is,
So-
and I've asked some of the officers to look around as they're doing their patrols.
Right,
There's some on Troy Street, there's some right here in the
right,
downtown area. There's some over on Rupelo, and then, wasn't it Elm?
my apartment.
Yeah, so,
so how many cats are we talking about?
60.
No, I mean, if we were going to actually do the
well,
population.
and she had also said before about that there was some grants available.
right, and I've talked to her about those, and she said they're more in the middle and the end of the year kind of grants. And she said, but we needed to start this because it was breeding season.
Well,
So
but it
that's,
would also look good for grant purposes that we are already working on.
Right.
We're just trying to
So
gain assistance.
she's not gonna do the 30 until we get
Match.
30.
right,
And
yeah,
that's a
she's
cost
gonna
of
match them.
$900 if it's at $30 a cat.
And there's a cat, and we have to figure out how to catch them. I
No,
mean, they've got
She
the
would-
trap.
she's got
She's gonna
traps,
do,
she's
she'll
got
do the
the-
trapping?
she's got the trap, she's gonna have the volunteers to help trap.
Um,
So, I mean, it's basically just the spade.
So basically, I will go ahead and make this announcement. If members of the public, anyone is interested, or you're frustrated with the cat problems, if you would like to head up a possible, situation, get with Ms. Crawford.
Well, and then there was another option that we kind of put out there, of a donation situation where if you're sick of the cats and you would like to, like, put money up toward them to get them fixed and stuff, and then we could get you possibly a t-shirt or something kind of like that.
Oh, wow.
With a cat,
on it.
you
Okay.
know, so, I mean, there's other options.
Okay,
For the
So-
people who weren't here, I guess what the point is if you just trap and remove the cats, they'll just come back. But
Right,
if you
that's all this is.
spay or neuter the cats, they stay in they hold their place and they don't reproduce and they don't expand, and so it's supposed to solve the problem in, a cat's lifespan, an outdoor cat. I don't know.
They help keep the road.
And if anybody wants information on that, I have it right here. It talks about all that, trapping, like you said, the trapping and releasing. Elsewhere doesn't even help, they always come back. Shooting them does not help, they get replaced by other cats that come in, so. I'm just the middleman, I'm just passing this along.
Yes, Mr. Beerball.
Just real quick, cause I really don't care about cats.
I don't either.
But what happens if someone comes in, devil's advocate's on board, and says, someone took my cat, and now I'm upset, and it has a scar, and it's not something I wanted done.
Then they should keep track of their cat.
Well, they should, but they don't, and it's still their cat, and it's still
But we would, if that was to
Hold on,
happen,
we're getting too many people talking at once.
Yeah.
if that was, we would, with the trapping and stuff like that, we would put up, flyers and things on doors saying that, we're doing this, if you don't want your cat in the mix of all this, if you don't want your cat,
Okay, good answer.
yes.
Well, and then
Would be an
there's,
advanced note.
and then there's
Advanced note.
another thing.
Cats don't have owners.
Say they're feral.
Cats are not owned by anyone according to.
Well, I know they're considered feral.
Well, no, they're not considered feral, but
Thought they
the
were.
law just says that nobody owns a cat. They're just kind of a free man.
My
Oh,
neighbor's
no,
cat's
but if
coming
it's
out.
out-
Cat wouldn't say that.
If it's out at large.
Correct. So, but there would be the, community education prior notice. It wouldn't just be tomorrow we slap traps out. No, we would-
Yeah.
if we're concentrating, let's say in the downtown area, then we may put up some flyers or,
She says she has, things that you put on your doorknob,
so,
like little,
Yeah, that's a good
hangers.
one.
so,
Just so
Is
folks
there-
have a heads up.
right. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the cat report? Okay. All right, next, we will move on. Correction in everybody's agenda. This is second reading of ordinance 16-898 to accept petition for annexation of the Church of God site, which everyone knows is on the east side of town, on the south side of 36. So is there any questions, concerns, comments about annexation, the annexation of the Church of God site, which is ordinance 16-898? Okay. Next, Joe, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one, rental property sale of 9746 West State Route 36.
That was brought up, we put the bid out for that property before and we received no bids. And the question came up, what is our next opportunity or next step in order to get rid of that? Daniel Bay has looked into that and discussed it with other attorneys and talked to the municipal league. And we have to put that out for bid, we have no other recourse. We can't put it up with the realtor, the only thing we could do would be petition the court if we wanted to. Or, the only time you can do that is you have to become a charter village and write it into your charter. Otherwise, we have to go out to bid. So the question comes up, do we want to put that out to bid one more time? I've had a couple people that say they're interested, but
I think we need to expand the area this time. We're going a
we can
different
get it in
direction.
that other paper this time, the
Yeah.
16 county. We've got plenty of time now to do that. We just missed the boat the last time. But
I say we go with that option, expand it to the 16.
we still have to do it in the local paper, but we can put it in that county classified and that hits the 16 county. But we still have to do it in the local paper, and I think we can probably cut that down a little bit and save ourselves a bit. It was like $470 to run it the last time. So we're still gonna have that expense. country classified is probably gonna be around the 100-150 neighborhood, but that gets out to, like I said, 16 counties. But that's our only option. They are looking at renting the place again, so with the understanding that it'd be a month to month, if we did get a renter, depending on what council wants to do, try to sell it or try to keep it, but that's our only option. We have to put it out to bid.
Can we parcel it?
Probably not, just due to the fact that there's no road frontage out there. The lane is the only thing that goes back that would violate most of our zoning codes.
Who owns the property north of that?
Jack Perk, I believe.
Would he be interested in farm ground?
I wouldn't have a clue to that. He'd have to put a bid in on it.
I mean, if we just parcel out the farm ground and sell the front half. I'm just thinking.
But, I mean, it's kinda hard to, it's all listed under one, correct me if I say anything wrong. It's all listed under one
Acreage lot.
acreage lot,
Some
and we would fall into,
we
to
could,
breaking that up would be,
well, we couldn't break it up because there would typically be no access to the back part.
Unless the adjacent owner.
Well, he would be
on the
the only
backside.
one. He could add it to his.
Right.
But typically, one person would most likely buy the whole thing and then separate it, sell the back half off and keep the front half. And we obviously know after you said, who the backside would be interested, but you don't know unless you put it out to bid again.
I have no issues with putting it back out to bid.
I'll second that.
Alright, Mr. Miller makes a motion to put the property, 9746 West State Route 36 back out to bid, seconded by Mr. Jester. Roll call, please.
Atkins,
Yes.
Watkins,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Irvin.
Excuse me, yes. I had a question after that. You had also said if, while we're in this process, I don't see if somebody wants to move in on a month-to-month basis and rent it, I don't. Would we have a problem with that?
I myself do not have a problem,
As
as
long as
long
there's-
as it's understood that it's a
Yeah.
month to month.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
And that's going through Pam Davidson, and she's well aware of that.
okay,
Because she was kind of holding off, when we first started that, back in November was, as she stated, that's the worst time in the world to try to rent a house anyway, but now we're starting into spring, and we have had 2 people that have been interested in renting, and so I had told her based on what council had to say, and, even somebody that moves in may want to bid on it,
Okay.
so.
So,
Do we
Mr.
need-
Irvin, are you making a motion
Yes.
to allow that to go out
to,
on a rent for month-to-month basis?
yes.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Miller. We'll roll call that.
Crawford,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Watkins,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
and Irvin.
Yes.
Okay. All right, next.
Joe, the only
Yes.
thing I would wanna see in the contract, a lot of times the rental contracts have about access and things like that. If we needed to show the property within reasonable notice, that we could do that, so if we're gonna be trying to sell it, does that make sense? So that could be put in the contract.
That's, the realtor has the right upon notice with the renter to enter the property at basically any time with a certain amount of time given. So that's already in the.
Yeah, well, I thought that was for emergency purposes and,
No, no.
I just wanted to make
If we
sure
would call up,
that it would be tough to sell a place if you
yeah,
couldn't.
no, if someone really wanted to get inside of the house, I can call Pam and say, we're gonna need to get in there, and then she would give the renters ample amount of time.
Okay,
Whatever, I think it's like a week maybe that they have to have 5 days notice, something like that.
thank you.
Yes, we can get in.
Okay,
We still have the right to refuse any bid, right?
We do,
yes.
or accept. any bid.
All right, next, we will move on to the Food Council Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah,
This is an update.
yeah, this is only, I just wanted you to know that they had a meeting on the 17th. The food council that had approached us with this, to sign this, I guess my simplest way to say it is, I guess they were a little surprised that we signed it, only to find out that they're not an actual entity. So for them to put out a contract, someone has to be able to own that equipment out there. And so they are now in the process of becoming a food council entity of their own, which would have signing power and ownership power of the company, or of the equipment. So once they get that into place, then we can sign, we had already decided to sign this, but then food council can sign this and move on. But they have to be an actual legal entity to be able to do that. So that's where we're at, that's what the holdup has been. I don't know how long that's gonna take them, but I assume that will be soon, that will be finished.
Okay, and I have one more thing to add to old business. I was reminded again by Mr. Irving, and I didn't get it on again. Everyone on council remembers, and I don't know if you remember, Mr. Atkins, when we did House Bill 5, as far as the taxes, and we found that we need to develop a tax appeal board. What I'm asking council, we need to have 3 members. What I'm asking council is talk to individuals in the public, talk to people you know, who are citizens in the village, who may be interested in being on this tax appeal board. Basically, if someone wishes to, generally they go to Rita for their tax situations. If they are not happy with the judgments that Rita has passed down, we have to have a 3-member tax appeal board. I doubt that they would be used very often, but that's just something that was developed with House Bill 5. So if you, gentlemen and lady, if you guys could please talk to anyone that you know and see if anyone is interested. If you can bring those names back, we'll discuss them.
Is there some way we could have a guidelines to what the responsibilities would be? It's hard to tell them. I mean, I know, like you said, the odds of it meeting are very, very slim, but they would ask them to sign on, then they wouldn't know what their responsibility would be.
I'll look, I'm not so sure that within that ordinance that that's not stated under that tax
Okay.
appeal board. I'll look in there if it is. I'll email you a copy of that.
Thank you.
And I can email it to anybody else that
Please.
would choose to have it. If not, I can call Rita and maybe they have a description of what a board would maybe be
But
responsible.
even the individuals out here, somebody might be interested, but me personally, I wouldn't wanna agree to something, to be on a board of something unless I knew exactly what the parameters were and what the expectations were.
But technically, according to Rita, we should have had a board for the past several years and have never had cause to have one.
I know.
So,
Is there a deadline on this?
no.
No, if I recall, the lawyer said that we should get on it, after the new council was put in, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And he said there wasn't a lot of pressure, but, I mean, we should still get this developed.
And
Yeah.
and if I recall in our ordinance when we passed it, or the agreement, it was, the priority is to have somebody within the village first, but then it can extend beyond that.
Right.
Correct. If we do not get interested citizens, then we can move to Johnson or Jackson Township. But the, not priority, but we would like to have individuals from the village who are interested.
Is that a requirement?
If we do not get anybody from the village, then we can go.
It was preferential within
Right.
the village, but if you can't fill the positions, then
You
you
can
can
go.
go within the township.
So, I apologize for not having that on there. I was just reminded of it again. So we'll move on to new business. First order of new business in everyone's packet should be a copy of Resolution 1231. This is simply a resolution for police coverage for the village of St. Paris whereas in recognition of the importance of the police department chain of command within the village, and in the interest for the village to avoid any unnecessary liability, now therefore be resolved that while Chief Pence is absent from the department on medical leave, Sergeant Zach Wilson will be appointed as the officer in charge. This will remain in effect until Chief Pence is returned to normal duties and is cleared by a medical professional. This resolution shall take effect when the enforcement earliest period allowed by law. The Chief's going out on medical, and he'll be absent for a little period of time. This is purely a formality, as Sergeant Wilson is already the second in command. This is purely for any reason that we can't foresee. This is just simply, it is it's in writing that he is the officer in charge. In no way, shape, or form does this, affect anything else. I mean, just, if Chief is in the hospital and something happens, he's the one, this is on resolution, he's the one that is in charge to make that call.
But isn't that in his sergeant title?
And it's just a lawyer formality. I mean, he understood that he was second in command, but as far as if something large or detrimental happened, and let's say Chief is in the hospital, let's say, and something, complications or something like that, instead of having to get a hold of Chief and get it approved, he can make the best decision with the information that he has.
Is he receiving any money from?
No additional monies.
And he keeps the same title?
And he will just be the sergeant, he will be the officer in charge.
I guess we don't take. I mean, Jim goes out, the chief goes out on vacation once a year. And this is no different. I mean, we don't elevate him to temporary chief when he's out on vacation.
And this isn't temporary chief.
Well, I mean,
This is
he's,
simply officer in charge,
I understand that. What I'm
and
saying
this is simply, is Chief gonna be out a week, is he gonna be out a month, is he gonna be out 3 months? I don't know.
He's looking at 6 weeks.
It's 6 weeks.
But he's already in a supervisory capacity. I don't understand why we need to pass a resolution to do the same thing.
And this is, like I said, a lawyer formality. Because I discussed with discussed with the attorney the situation. And this was his suggestion on how to handle said situation. So, are there any questions about resolution 1231? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 1231.
So moved.
Mr. Watkins makes a motion,
I second it.
second by Mr. Atkins. Can we roll call please on resolution 1231?
Irvin,
Yeah.
Crawford,
Yeah.
Jester,
No.
Miller. Watkins
Yes.
and Atkins.
Yes.
All right, next we'll bring up the Village of Christiansburg phone contract. Get that up in there. Yeah. All right. Letter from Village of Christiansburg enclosed are 2 copies of the agreement between the Village of Christiansburg and the Village of St. Paris for police phone service for 2016. Please sign, date, and return 1 copy, keeping 1 copy for your records. This is an agreement between the Village of Christiansburg and the Village of St. Paris. The Village of Christiansburg agrees to pay the Village of St. Paris the sum of $15 per month for police phone service. This agreement is in effect January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016. Signed by Christiansburg Mayor. This is, we do every year because of the long distance. It was established a long time ago.
Same exact contract we've had for 20 years.
So, any questions as far as the, phone, police phone coverage? Yeah,
Just what would
police
that
phone
be?
service. For individuals to call Urbana 911 at one point in time, it was a long distance, and it still is on certain phone carriers, I do believe.
Transfers the call from Christiansburg to the St. Paris Police Department to the dispatch center.
So are they calling our dispatcher?
It'll ring in the office, at our office, and then it'll be transferred directly to dispatch.
Oh, okay.
We looked into that last year about trying to do away with that, and there's no point to it, I mean, to try to do away with it.
Right.
It's a very minimal charge, and they are taking care of most of it anyway.
I mean, it's a service they need.
I just didn't realize it would be long distance from Christiansburg to
Around.
Yeah, it is.
857 to 653 or
But it isn't
652.
from Springfield.
Right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the, police phone contract. Mr. Miller makes a motion,
Second.
second by Mr. Watkins. Roll call, please.
Miller.
Yeah.
Jester.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
Watkins.
Yeah.
Atkins.
Yes.
Alright. We have one individual sign in for, public comment. Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, on the 19th, the First Baptist Church is doing a Adopt a Highway program, starting from city limit, west side of town to 2 miles out. I know that the police department can't go outside of city limits, but I requested on the 19th that they can just kind of patrol the west side of town a little bit more, kind of slow people down if it could. I'm also going to ask the sheriff's department to do the same thing, but, you know, this is a volunteer thing, and we all know how 36 is, it's pretty busy, and I just like for our people to be safe, and if, you know, we can get some support of that, I appreciate it.
What was the date on
The 19th, pending weather,
That's a Saturday.
yes.
Okay, Mr. Cosme,
Yes, sir.
if you can pass that along,
Will do.
I appreciate it. Shouldn't be.
I'll call Chuck Cron up at ODOT too and ask him if it's okay, we could help you with some temporary signs. Maybe caution ahead or men working something.
Yeah, they're gonna supply the signs,
ODOT
ODOT
is?
does, they come out and put the signs
Okay,
up,
all right.
and, I
Okay.
mean, they supply everything, we just
Okay.
have to supply our time.
Perfect.
But, you know, we know how 36 is, and it gets
Okay.
pretty,
We're just willing to help if you need
yeah,
it.
sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Is there any other public comments at this time?
They're doing a
Adopt a highway.
winter.
So, if there are no other public comments at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:45. Mr. Miller makes a motion, seconded by Ms. Crawford.